How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Infinite Sports. I'm your host, Kenneth Gruenfelder. Today we're going to talk about, in this episode, the Monday night game, the conclusion of Week 1, which was one of the best Week 1s we've seen in recent years. I came to the conclusion last night between the game of a couple of NFC North rivals, the Minnesota Vikings and the Chicago Bears. A lot of eyes were locked in on this game because you had two young quarterbacks going at it, and Caleb Williams and J.J. McCarthy. Caleb Williams, this is now going to be year 1 with Ben Johnson. This is year 2 overall for him after his rookie season. And now Ben Johnson leading the helm, coming over from the Lions to be the head coach of the Chicago Bears. And then on the other side, the Vikings with their starting quarterback, J.J. McCarthy, making his first start of his career, because last year, got cut short of that because of the knee injury that he suffered, the meniscus injury in the preseason, and that's why he didn't play at all last year, and that's why Sam Darnold was the starter. So with this game, wow, the Vikings got the ball to start the game, and it was a quick 3-and-out. And then the Bears, they go 10 plays, 61 yards down the field. Caleb Williams does something that he didn't do all year last year. He scores a rushing touchdown. I think that's what they said. He didn't score a rushing touchdown last season. He was scrambling around a lot, which is something he did in general last year because of how poor the offensive line was. But yeah, this was his best drive of the night because after that, the Bears offense really didn't do anything after that. And J.J. McCarthy and the Vikings offense really struggled to get into a rhythm. The Bears defense was putting pressure on him. They were just out of sorts. And then J.J. McCarthy later in the game, he throws a pick six to make it 17-6. That was the first possession for the Vikings out of the half after the Bears went a quick 3-and-out. But yeah, so it was 17-6 at that point. And the way the Vikings were playing offensively, they couldn't get anything going. They really weren't running the football well either. Just nothing was going right for them on offense. I mean, their defense was keeping them in the game. But then he makes that mistake, and you're thinking, well, the way the offense is playing, right now they got no shot to win this game. But again, the defense was keeping them in this game. The Bears just kept punting and punting. They put together a drive later in the second half, and Cairo Santos ends up missing a 50-yard field goal. So that gives the Vikings good field position, and that's when things turned around. Because then they went 6 plays, 60 yards. You got an 18-yard run by Jordan Mason, a 17-yard reception by Justin Jefferson, and they get down to the Bears' 13-yard line, and J.J. McCarthy hits Justin Jefferson over the middle to score a touchdown. That made it 17-12. They go for 2. They end up not getting it. Well, their first attempt was incomplete, but there was a penalty, illegal use of hands, so that gave them, closer. They got closer to the goal line. They ran another 2-point conversion, obviously. And McCarthy hit the tight end, Oliver, but he ends up getting tackled short of the goal line. So it was 17-12. Bears end up punting again, and it takes the Vikings 3 plays. Aaron Jones, 9-yard run. Then there ends up being a penalty, a defensive pass interference call. And then they ran this play earlier in the game. They ran a wheel route with Aaron Jones that was incomplete, but they did the same play again, doing it on the other side. And Aaron Jones ends up scoring a 27-yard reception, and the Vikings end up taking the lead. They go for 2, and that time it's successful. McCarthy hits Adam Thielen to make it 20-17 Vikings. Bears punt again, and then the Vikings scored again. 19-yard run by Jordan Mason. So the running game really started to get it going when the Vikings started to build momentum. Both running backs had their moments in this game. More so Aaron Jones with the touchdown reception. But yeah, Jordan Mason had a couple of good runs in this game as well. But yeah, 11 yards to Aaron Jones in this game. Jefferson another 10. And then this was on 3rd and 1 from the Bears' 14-yard line. This was probably the best play call of the night from Kevin O'Connell. 3rd and 1, they do a QB option with J.J. McCarthy. Caught the Bears off guard there with that, and he ends up scoring from 14 yards out, gets a good block to get into the end zone, and that puts the Vikings up 27-17. The Bears did end up scoring a touchdown on their drive. There was a lot of penalties on the drive, but Caleb Williams, this was a good play call by Ben Johnson at the 1-yard line, but They get Roma Dunze for the touchdown. He was wide open on that play. So that made it 27-24. And then the Vikings get the ball back. Now, Ty Chandler did a very nice job and Kevin O'Connell told him, when the Bears kicked off to him, Kevin O'Connell was telling him, run it out, waste more clock, because what the Bears, this ended up hurting the Bears because they only had one timeout, but they were on the other side of the 2-minute warning. So Ty Chandler takes it out, takes it past the 2-minute warning, so now the Bears don't have that other stoppage. So they can only stop the clock once, as opposed to if you would have just kicked it out, if Ty Chandler ended up, taking a knee then or something, then it still would have been there. I think it would have been 2:02 left on the clock, and then the Bears would have had 2 times to stop the clock. It would have been the 2-minute warning and their timeout. But because Ty Chandler took it out, now they're on the other side. Now they're on that side of the 2-minute warning. So now the Bears can only use one timeout to stop the clock because they already used the other 2. So yeah, the Bears really didn't have any time to do anything once they got the ball back, because then the Vikings ended up punting with like 16 seconds left. They just ran 3 running plays. There was a penalty, and then there was an illegal shift. Actually, DJ Moore got blasted on this play, and Caleb Williams also got hit hard. Because I think there was also, wasn't there I think there was a roughing the passer penalty also. But yeah, there was a penalty on the play. They run one final play. They do the razzle dazzle. It ends up getting fumbled. Vikings recover, and they get the win. They start off 1-0 on the season. Caleb Williams, 21-35, 210 yards, a touchdown, no picks. The leading rusher ended up being Caleb Williams, 58 yards rushing, and the rushing touchdown. DeAndre Swift had 53 yards rushing. DJ Moore was the leading receiver with 68 yards receiving. The Bears, they got to McCarthy. They sacked him 3 times. They had the pick 6. And then for J.J. McCarthy, look, only had 143 yards passing, 13-20, 2 touchdowns and a pick. Jordan Mason, 68 yards on the ground. Aaron Jones had 23. McCarthy had 25. Jefferson, the leading receiver. Well, Aaron Jones also had 44 yards receiving. Both had 44 yards receiving and a touchdown. There was a fumble recovery by Jay Ward. That was at the end of the game. Vikings defense, a couple of sacks of Caleb Williams. Look, J.J. McCarthy, not the best. He had a great fourth quarter. Great fourth quarter. For 3 quarters of that game, you were thinking, the Vikings should have kept Sam Darnold. What are they doing? This guy doesn't have it. I did make a Sam Darnold comment last night. Even though, look, I did pick the Vikings to win this division. I did do that. And what J.J. McCarthy was able to do in the fourth quarter, that gives me confidence, a little bit of confidence going forward that maybe I did make the right decision. But based on how the Packers' defense looked and how Jordan Love looked, well, they got something to say about that. But, it was an interesting game because you had Caleb Williams. He got off to a fast start. He looked great. And then all of a sudden, the offense disappeared. And J.J. McCarthy came alive in the fourth quarter. And his ability to be able to respond after the pick 6, I think, really shows us something. It showed his teammates something because, you're paying it to Justin Jefferson on the sidelines. And, it wasn't like how like Malik Neighbors was and Brian Dable. But, he wasn't happy with what was going on. This team was out of sorts. And, the defense, give the Vikings defense credit. They kept them in the game. And then all of a sudden, McCarthy found a rhythm. This offensive line found a rhythm. They were starting to block better. They were starting to run the football better, which is something they really weren't able to do in the first half. And all of a sudden, they found the rhythm, and they got the win. And credit to Kevin O'Connell, of course, as well. And that's one of the biggest reasons why I'd have the Vikings winning the division is because of Kevin O'Connell's play calling, and of course how good the roster is. So. And then as for Ben Johnson and the Bears, that's a tough loss, and especially at home too. And they were honoring the '85 Bears. That was definitely a tough pill to swallow in their first game together. They got to learn from it. But what a game to end week 1. I mean, again, this was one of the best week 1s we've had. There were so many good games so many good moments from over the weekend. And again, I said this. Doing the episode yesterday, I mean, this is why the NFL is undefeated, and the other sports leagues just can't compare to it. The games are really good. Sloppiness, but, that'll get cleaned up as we move along here. So, yeah, Vikings get the win 27-24. They are taking on the Falcons next week, so we're going to get a rematch of the national championship game from a couple years ago between J.J. McCarthy and Michael Penix. We're going to get that on Sunday Night Football. And then for the Bears, they'll be taking a trip over to Detroit, Ben Johnson taking on his former team. So, yeah, one of those teams is going to be 0-2 unless they tie. One of those teams is going to be 0-2 at the conclusion of week 2. So, that's going to be an interesting game. We'll see how that goes because the Lions... that game against the Packers was rough. But let me know what you guys think about this game from last night. Let me know in the comments. And as always, everybody, make sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe to the channel, to the video. Make sure to also follow us on the social media platforms listed in the description below. And as always, you can also listen to us wherever you find your podcasts as well. Just look up Infinite Sports. And as always, everybody, I'm your host, Kenneth Grunfelder, signing off. Have a good one. We'll talk to you guys next time. Take care.